It's the final rewrite. Doodle-doo-doo. Doodle-doo-doo-doo. Here we are. After 72 minutes, 3 videos, and months of preparing, we've finally made it to the end. The end game, if you will. This is part 4 of my rewrites. If you haven't watched the first 3 parts, or you just don't remember them, I recommend watching them beforehand. That way, I'll get that sweet, sweet watch time. I mean, you'll be informed on what's happening. My goals are completely altruistic. And to prove that I'm totally not trying to scam you out of your time, I'm gonna recap the story thus far. Skip to this point in the video if you're already caught up. So, Scott and Hope stop Whirlwind when Cassie tells them to come home. Cassie shows Scott, Hope, Hank, and Janet the costume she made in her quantum beacon, which malfunctions and sends Scott, Hope, and Cassie to the quantum realm. They meet Kang, who says he can input Scott into the parts of Cassie's life he missed, as long as Scott gets him a portal generator. Scott and Hope get the portal generator and return to Kang, who double-crosses them. Hank and Janet show up and keep MODOK busy while Scott, Hope, and Cassie go after Kang. After beating MODOK, Hank and Janet help Scott and Hope beat some other Kangs, while Cassie meets Nathaniel Richards, a teenage variant of Kang who's also a good guy. He offers to train Cassie, and does just that. Scott, Hope, Cassie, Hank, Janet, and Nathaniel are all about to head into their final battle with Kang. And now for the grand conclusion. You've waited long enough for this, so here it is. Welcome to the finale of the Quantumania rewrites. Scott and Nathaniel exit the portal in San Francisco. Wait, we're home? Scott asks. Guys, over here! Hope calls. Scott and Nathaniel head to where everyone else is, and they see Kang hovering over an army of Kang androids.
Is this really your plan? Kang asks. To charge headfirst to your deaths under the delusional assumption that you can stop me.
He turns to Nathaniel.
Look at the facts. I outnumber you 200 to 1. There's no way you can win. Join me, Kang, and I can make you more powerful than you could ever dream.
My name is Nathaniel Richards, Nathaniel shouts. He looks at Scott before facing Kang once more. But you can call me Iron Lad. Kang glares at Nathaniel.
Very well, Iron Lad. You've made your choice. I hope you're prepared to die by it.
Kang points his finger, and the hundreds of Kang androids spring to life, charging at our heroes. You guys deal with the androids, Scott says. Hope and I will go after Kang. But Dad, Cassie begins. No time to argue, Scott says. You can grow the biggest out of all of us, so you'll have the best chance of taking down the most androids. He kisses Cassie on the forehead. I know you can do this. Scott and Hope shrink down, and he grabs onto Hope's hands. Scott and Hope fly away as the others face down the android army. Hank grows to about 20 feet tall, Cassie grows to 50 feet, Janet shrinks down, and she and Nathaniel fly into the air. The Kang androids shoot at the heroes with energy blasts. Cassie and Hank are able to tank the energy blasts as they crush hordes of androids. Janet dodges the energy blast in her shrunken form and shoots the android with her sting blasts. And Nathaniel blocks the android's energy blast with repulsor blasts of his own. Cut to Scott and Hope flying above the battle. I don't like this plan, Hope says. Do you have a better one? 'Cause I'm all ears, Scott replies. Hope shakes her head. They get behind Kang, who's floating slightly off the ground. Scott grows to normal size, and Kang turns around.
Hello, Scott.
Kang says.
I assume Hope is nearby.
Nope, Scott replies. It's just you and me, and only one of us is getting out of this. Kang shoots an energy blast at Scott, but he shrinks and dodges it. Scott jump taps Kang, then returns to normal size. Kang shoots another energy blast, but Scott grows and it passes under him. Scott slams his fist down on Kang, but he erects a force field to block the hit. Scott jumps back and throws a shrinking disc at the force field, shrinking it down.
I hate those discs,
Kang grumbles. Scott throws a punch at Kang, but Kang stops him with his telekinesis.
What did you think you could do, Scott? I am infinitely more powerful than you.
True, Scott says. You are more powerful, and smarter, and slightly better looking, but I have something you don't.
Let me guess, Kang interjects. Your saving grace is the power of friendship?
Actually, yeah, Scott says. Now! Hope shoots sting blasts at Kang's gauntlets, frying them. Scott is released from Kang's telekinesis and falls to the floor. Hope grows to normal size and says, Scott figured out your secret, Kang. You have no real powers. Scott stands up. After spending time with Iron Lad, I learned that Kangs get their power from their tech. All you are is a guy in a suit, and I've beaten guys in suits before. Kang growls. He flies into the air and cracks his knuckles. Hope flies into the air as well, and Scott grows, ready to fight. Cut back to Cassie, Hank, Janet, and Nathaniel fighting the androids. 10 of them fly at to Hank and start blasting him. Janet returns to normal size and shoots them down. Thanks, honey, Hank says. He grabs an android that was sneaking up on Janet from behind and crushes it. Nathaniel flies by, blasting androids from above, when he notices a few Kang androids are climbing up Cassie's leg. Hey Cassie, Nathaniel says, your leg! Cassie looks down and sees the Kang androids. "Let's see how they like this," she says. She grows taller, reaching 150 feet. One of the androids creates a large energy blade and slashes at Cassie's leg as it jumps off. Cassie cries out in pain and falls to her knees, crushing several more androids. Giant drops of blood drip from the gash in her leg, falling on more androids and destroying them. She stands up and stomps on the ground, creating a giant shockwave that blasts back dozens of the Kang androids. Nathaniel flies up to Cassie. "I'm gonna try and fix the cut," he says. "Don't move." He flies down to Cassie's leg and sprays a solvent on it that covers the gash in a gauze-like substance. The gauze starts to turn red with blood almost immediately. "Your blood flows very fast," Nathaniel shouts. "It's from a heart condition I've had since I was born," Cassie yells back. "Are you done yet?" Nathaniel sprays on an extra layer of gauze. "You're good." Cassie slams her fist down on the ground, destroying a large group of androids. She then spots Scott and Hope fighting Kang. "They need my help," Cassie says.
You know, we could also use your help,
Nathaniel replies. "You guys can beat the androids," Cassie rebuts. "My parents can't beat Kang on their own." Nathaniel concedes. "You're right, we'll hold down the fort." Cassie nods, and suddenly she shrinks to 100 feet. "What happened?" Cassie asks. "Your adrenaline has gone down a bit now that your cut is healing," Nathaniel explains. "Remember those frequencies we practiced with?" Cassie nods again, and she charges for her parents. Nathaniel flies over to Hank. "Cassie's going to help Scott and Hope. You know, if you grew taller, we'd be able to beat these things more easily." "I don't know," Hank says. "I haven't used the suit in years. Being this big is already a lot." Janet flies up to them. "I think you should try it," she says. "Show them why you were called Giant Man." Hank smiles. He presses a button on his glove and grows to 45 feet. Hank laughs. It sounds almost crazy. "Have I missed this feeling?" He swipes his foot across the ground, destroying dozens of androids. Nathaniel and Janet resume their attack on the Kang androids as well. Cut back to Scott and Hope fighting Kang. Scott sees Cassie running toward them. "Hope, when I say so, fly up into the air," he says. Hope nods and shoots Kang with sting blasts, but he dodges them. "Hey, Kang!" Cassie yells. Kang turns around. "Now!" Scott yells. Hope flies into the air and Scott jumps aside as Cassie slams her fist down on Kang. Cassie lifts up her fist and sees that Kang is gone. Kang teleports to Cassie's eye level.
"I must admit, Cassie, I'm rather impressed by how quickly you've mastered your abilities."
Cassie claps her hands together on Kang, but he teleports away again.
"You're still going to die, of course."
"You're a bug, Kang," Cassie says, "and I'm gonna crush you like one." Kang teleports behind Cassie.
"And here I thought Scott was the end."
He hits Cassie with an energy blast and she falls to the ground. Scott and Hope narrowly avoid being crushed. "Ow!" Cassie groans. "The real Kang's lasers hurt a lot more than the fake ones." Scott turns to Hope. "I thought you broke his gauntlets," he says. "Apparently not enough," she replies.
"Fools," Kang says. "My technology repairs itself when compromised. I thought you would have recognized it, Scott. I borrowed the design from Iron Man's Mark 50 armor."
Kang floats down and lands on Cassie's back.
"Right now, I am standing on the very center of Cassie's thoracic segment.
He charges up an energy blast.
Make one wrong move, and I paralyze her for life."
Scott growls, but he and Hope ultimately surrender. Kang then shoots the supercharged energy blast at Hope.
"Just for good measure," he says.
Hope goes flying back and lands on the ground, unconscious. "Hope!" Scott yells. Cassie wakes up and feels Kang standing on her back. "Get off me!" Cassie yells. She jumps up and Kang is launched into the sky. Kang steadies himself with his force field and floats in the air. Scott grows to 60 feet tall. "You don't get to hurt my family," he says. Scott charges at Kang and starts punching his force field. Meanwhile, Cassie runs over to Hope and shrinks to normal size. Hope's suit is sparking and she's visibly injured. "Are you okay?" Hope gives Cassie one of her gloves. "You need to overload Kang's force field," Hope manages. "It'll take longer to repair." Cassie nods and runs off. Hope activates her earpiece. "Scott?" she says. "Hope, you're okay!" Scott exclaims as he continues to bash Kang's force field. "I need you to keep Kang in one place," Hope says. "How am I supposed to do that?" Scott asks. "I don't know," Hope says, "but figure it out. Cassie needs a clean shot to break through Kang's force field." "Alright, I'll figure something out," Scott says. He wraps his hand around Kang's force field, but Kang teleports out. Kang lowers his force field and uses the energy to augment his fist as he punches Scott in the face. He then uses his telekinesis to press down on Scott's shrinking button, reducing him to normal size. Scott throws a punch at Kang, but Kang catches it. With his other hand, Scott quickly drops an ant on the back of Kang's shirt. Kang hits Scott with an energy blast, and Scott falls to the ground as Kang constructs a new force field. "Guess what, Kang?" Scott says. "Turns out, I do have a superpower. Close-up magic!" Scott presses a button on his belt, and the ant that he placed on Kang's back grows to supersize, hitting Kang to the ground. The ant kicks at Kang's belt, destroying his teleporter. "Thanks, Antario," Scott says. "Hey, Kang!" Cassie's voice rings throughout the city. Kang turns and sees Cassie, 250 feet tall, charging up a giant-sized sting blast. Let's see how you like being shot with energy blasts! Cassie fires the giant sting blast. Scott shrinks to avoid the attack, which hits Kang and creates a massive explosion. The explosion spreads all the way to where Nathaniel, Hank, and Janet are fighting the androids. Nathaniel creates a force field, and Hank and Janet shrink to avoid getting destroyed by that discharge. We then see a shot from above, showing that the explosion left a massive crater in the floor. Scott returns to normal size. Where's Hope? He asks. Hope's fine, Cassie replies. She's on my shoulder. Cassie picks up Hope and puts her down on the floor, then shrinks back to normal size. Cassie gives Hope's glove back to her. Scott tackles Cassie in a hug. Cassie, that was amazing! He exclaims. Thanks, Dad, Cassie replies. Hank, Jenna, and Nathaniel come over.
That was incredible, Cassie, Hank says. You must have been over 200 feet tall.
That's probably the biggest I'm ever getting, Cassie says. Being that big really tired me out, and I feel like I want something sweet. Scott smiles. What you're craving is citrus. Oh my god, yes! Cassie agrees. Suddenly, the rubble behind them begins to shift, and Kang rises once more. His gauntlets, belt, and boots are broken, and his clothes are shredded, but he looks as confident as ever.
You may think you've won,
Kang says,
but I can never die. I am eternal. I am everlasting. I am...
Will you shut up? Janet shouts. She storms over to Kang and slaps him across the face. You brainwashed me with your false promises, Janet yells. I worked for you, bled for you, killed for you. You said you'd get me back to my family, you vile, worthless insect! She knees him in the crotch and kicks him to the ground. Scott sucks in a quick breath as Kang falls to the floor. Hank smiles. That's my wife, he says proudly. Janet walks back over to the other heroes. I just needed to get that off my chest, she says. I've been holding that in for years.
Would you like it if I got you a punching bag, honey?
Hank asks. Janet smiles. I'd love that. From behind them, Kang groans. The group turns around and sees Kang slowly getting up again.
You're going to wish I had killed you now,
he manages. He creates a portal and disappears through it. Should we go after him? Cassie asks. Scott shakes his head. Kang's been thoroughly defeated and humiliated. He's not coming back anytime soon. Janet pulls out her portal generator and gives it to Nathaniel. Please, take us home. Wait, are we not home? Scott asks. This is an alternate universe, San Francisco, Nathaniel explains. Oh, thank goodness, Scott says. Glad I don't have to deal with this. He gestures to the giant crater they're standing in. Nathaniel opens a portal to Earth 199999. Thank you, Spider-Verse.
Don't even get me started on Doctor Strange and the little nerd back on Earth 1999.
And Scott, Hope, Hank, and Janet go through. Cassie stops before entering the portal and turns to Nathaniel. Can you come with us? Cassie asks. Nathaniel shakes his head. Sorry, but I have to go back to my universe. Oh, Cassie says. Yeah, that makes sense. It's just that... Nathaniel cuts her off. We'll meet again, he says. I know where to find you. Cassie nods and heads through the portal back home. Nathaniel closes the portal to
Earth 1999
and opens a new portal to his home. He smiles. Huh. I am Iron Lad, he says to himself. He enters his portal, which closes behind him. Cut to back in Scott's house. Scott, Hope, Cassie, Hank, Jenna, and Luis are sitting around the table playing poker. Wow, I can't believe you guys did all that, Luis exclaims. Honestly, I can't believe it either, Scott says. He pushes all of his chips into the middle. I'm all in. Disclaimer, I don't play poker. If this is not how poker works, feel free to make fun of me in the comments. Scotty, you're crazy, man, Luis says. He folds, along with Hope, Hank, and Janet, but Cassie matches Scott's bet. Cassie, you do know we're playing for money, right? Hope asks. And isn't this, like, all of your savings? Scott adds, a smile spreading across his face. I know, and yes, Cassie replies, but I think I'm good. She reveals her hand. Boom! 4 of a kind! Scott laughs as he reveals his hand. Sorry, kid. Royal flush. What? Cassie cries. Scott moves all the chips in the pile towards him. I so thought I had that! Well, I guess you just have to get luckier, Scott says. He puts his arms behind his head, and a card falls out of his sleeve. Cassie's eyes narrow. What was that? She demands. Scott looks at the card that is now on the floor. Oh, you weren't supposed to see that. You cheated! Cassie yells. I just spent all of my money, and you cheated! As Cassie continues to berate her father, she begins to grow. She doesn't notice, but everyone else does. Cassie? Hope says. What? Cassie shouts. She then hits her head on the ceiling. Oh. Everyone starts laughing. You know what? How about everyone gets their money back? Scott says. Now everybody's happy. Cassie looks down at her feet. Dang it, she says. I just bought those shoes. Roll credits. Now it's time for the 2 end credit scenes, and while I'm fine leaving the second one, I'm changing the first one. Because, you know, if, hypothetically, an actor for a certain character was arrested for assault and harassment and is spending a year on probation and domestic violence counseling, you may not want to reveal that every variant of the multiverse is played by that actor. So, since hindsight is 2020, let's make a new mid-credit scene. The scene opens in the ex-con security office. Luis, Dave, and Kurt are sitting at their desks. So then Cassie goes to Giant's house and hits Kang with a super bomb, Luis says, and then Kang gets back up, and Janet kicks him in the balls, and man, that's gotta hurt, and Kang leaves. So then everyone goes back home, and we play poker, and Scotty cheats.
Course he does, Dave says. Classic Scott, Kurt agrees.
And this whole time, I'm kinda wondering if this is all some elaborate prank. Like, once I say I believe him, the hidden cameras will pop up, like, surprise! But then, when Scotty cheats and wins all of Cassie's money, she gets really mad, and she starts getting bigger, and she rips through a new pair of shoes, and she hits her head on the ceiling, and I'm like, holy crap, it's all real!
That's crazy, Dave says.
And you wanna know what the craziest part is? Luis says.
What is craziest part? Kurt asks.
They didn't invite me, Luis says. Cassie brought everybody else to see her crazy quantum gadgets and whatnot, but she didn't call me. I'm like an uncle to her, and she just forgot I existed.
That's shameful, man, Dave says, shaking his head. So, there we go, my completed Quantumania rewrite. Did you like the finale? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for sticking with me. Due to school and moving houses, it took much longer for this to come out than I had hoped. As both a creator and consumer of YouTube, I hate it when a video is split into multiple parts, but sometimes it's unavoidable. So I thank you all for your patience. I hope it was rewarded. And make sure to subscribe for more stuff like this. I have a lot of fun rewrites and pitches planned, ones that won't take over a year to complete, I promise. Here's a sneak peek for my next one. But that's all for now. I got some planning to do. See ya!